This is Cinema.
And this is Johannes.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Etherfields from designer Michael Orange, and it's published by Awaken Realms.
This was one of the big Kickstarters in 2020. It's been a lot of buzz around this game, so here are our opinions.
Yeah, and if you wonder, because I know many people have wondered why we haven't done this before, it's because we did film this review and then I decided it was a super good idea to delete the audio and save the project at the same time so that the audio was gone.
Good for us.
Now we are filming it again, so let's talk a bit about Etherfields. This is one of those strange reviews where we don't have the board on the table because we can't really show you a lot because this is a story-driven campaign game with basically every component in the game is a spoiler.
Yes.
So just super quickly what this game is all about. You are dreamers in a dream world. Can't say really a lot more than that. And you're going to travel around to different dreams. So you're traveling around this overworld map, basically kind of like a video game where you have random encounters and stuff like that, gather resources, and then you go into these dungeons, basically. It's a dream crawler instead of a dungeon crawler, but you're going into these kind of dreams where you will be enjoying some kind of story and solving some mystery and doing some tasks. Yes. The game in itself is pretty simple. You're moving around doing different actions until you either lose or you win the scenario, and then you're back on the world map and you're going to rinse and repeat that throughout the campaign.
Yeah.
There is 2 campaigns in the base game, and then there's like a gazillion different things in the Kickstarter stuff. We have not played the whole campaign, so we cannot it's not going to be a review of the whole campaign. We have played maybe half, something like that. I do not know, but around that somewhere, because it doesn't tell you how long it is, but somewhere around that I think we have played. So just so you know before we go into the review.
Yes.
So as always, let's start with the artwork and the components. Let's start talking about this board.
The layout of the board has been changed since what we originally saw on the Kickstarter page, which now makes it, when you're playing with a board, the most important part of the board is really far away. If you want to sit the right way, facing everything in front of you the right way, which we usually prefer.
Yes.
And
I like reading things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of small details on some cards, and it's then very, very hard to see when it's far away. So you can play without the board, and we tried that as well, but we ended up actually cutting the board in half and placing the 2 parts beside each other so we can sit next to each other and see everything the right way.
Yeah, this was, for me, when I opened the game.
Yeah.
I opened the board, I placed it, I was like,
What is this?
And I haven't followed the Kickstarter closely, so for me it wasn't like a huge shock. But I went back to the Kickstarter like, that's not how that board looked. So they have changed the board into that after playtesting on Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator. So they had tested the game online, not in real life because of COVID and everything. And they didn't have any problems because people had to zoom in and turn around. But you cannot do that in real life. You cannot, I cannot sit at a table and just I'm just going to turn the board around and zoom into that. You can't do that in real life. And that's what ended up making this board one of the worst boards I have ever seen. Even if they had just basically put what was up here, down here, and changed it, that might have worked. And if you play this with 4 players, you probably might want to play it diagonal, not diagonal, but sideways. But then again, I think most people would either like to read things the right way or upside down.
Yeah,
like reading sideways is horrible.
Hard.
So not we're not going to spend 10 minutes on this. I could because my blood is boiling on this because it makes no sense, and it should have been 2 boards.
Yeah, that would be perfect because then we could choose. And I'm very happy with cut our board.
Yeah.
So I recommend that solution.
And it felt horrible. I had never done that in any game as well.
It felt so wrong. Yes.
So we are going to continue with negative points because now we're going to talk about this rule book, which is amazing. No, it's a game manual, which it says.
Question,
so some people have said there's no problem with this rule book. They are lying. They would then play the game, know the game, and then read the rule book and like, oh, it makes sense. So most of the rules for the game, or some of the rules of the game, are in this box or in this book. I would say most of them are in this book, but they're not very easy to find, especially when you read the rules to learn them. Nothing makes sense. Luckily, there is an index at the back. Without that, you wouldn't really have a game. Without that, you would be because the first time you play, the first couple, 2-3 times you play, you will be constantly looking at this page and be like, I don't understand what anything means. So learning this game is a real hassle. And that's so weird. Because Tainted Grail had this super cool solo learn to play guide. So if I wanted to learn the game, and usually I'm the person who read the rules, so if I needed like another way to learn the game, I would just open that and it would teach me like, okay, it's like a mock-up scenario, I will move there, I do that action, and why they did not make like a tutorial deck, like a super small scenario. They basically, there is a prologue scenario, like there is a small start scenario, but if they made that with the how to play, turn to turn, move there, do that in a better way, because there is like the tutorial makes no sense if you haven't read the rules, and the rules makes no sense if you haven't played the tutorial, and it's just so many things that they have wrong. Another thing, this is just a nitpick, but I have no idea why they have chosen to do this. Why would they make a round called a turn and a turn named round? That makes no sense. Like, who in the right mind saying, whose round is it now?
No.
Oh, it's my round. No, it's my turn to do something. And I'm sorry, but these are things, and this is some of the things that makes this game not be good for many people. And this is very sad, because, spoiler alert, it's a very good game under all of these horrible things. But many people will never experience that, because it's such a hassle to learn the game. Luckily, if you're getting the game now, or when you're getting the game, there is an unofficial, and they have actually posted it on the updates as well. A person made basically the Learn to Play guide, which they should have done themselves. So the rulebook was a hassle to get through. When you actually play the game, it's fine. But show this.
The first times we played, it was not fun.
No.
Nope, it was not. I was almost giving up on the game because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was asking questions and you didn't really have the answers, and nothing made sense. And I in the beginning, before you get into the story and you are like involved with the characters and stuff, you need to have this solid foundation for me to actually get on board. It's like that with a book. Before I get to know the story of the book, I need to like suffer through a few pages just to get on board. If that is poorly written, have bad what do you call it?
Grammar, or
yes, or when you translate something, it's bad translation. I will not read that book.
No.
It was almost that I laid the book of Etherfields down and didn't read no more.
I agree, but I'm happy that we continue.
Yes,
because there's
absolutely.
many good things to say as well.
The negative things aside with the rulebook, the artwork of the game is really great.
Yes.
You're in this dream world and it feels like that from the artwork. It's great at getting the theme across. There's this weird things happening, and there's always like, it feels like a weird world. It feels like you're dreaming, and it's just like looking at those cards that you look at, I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm so glad that we got the miniatures for this game, because the cardboard tokens are really bland and boring. So if you have the chance to get the miniatures, I think you should.
Absolutely, and I feel like the artwork is very important because it's a thematic game.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a game dripping with theme. And like, it's strange because we love dry Euros and story games with theme. That's like kind of our two different
opposites,
but that's kind of like the Jekyll and Hyde of our board gaming hobby. But I feel like the artwork here is also very fun, because since there's dreams, you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
And they can do so many different themes. And that is very fun, because when you play a dungeon crawler, you're gonna be like, for example, I love Gloomhaven, but it's mostly a dungeon.
Yes.
There's not like, oh, how's this dungeon gonna be? Oh, it's gonna have a boulder in the middle. That's not interesting. But here it's the artwork is so important to be able to drag you into the game.
Yes.
So let's talk a bit about the player count and the playtime. And this is kind of like a never-ending game. Like, you can save it and you can box it up, or you can just let it stay out and play it whenever you want to. So we have played this 2 and 3 players. Usually we have always said like we always want to play this with 2. We have played some sessions with 3 players because it just happened to work out that way. Because we had a friend over and we really wanted to play Etherfields. And there's 2 different things of the game, as I said. It's the overworld, the dream world map, and then there's the dreams. And both of them has taken about like 45 to 90 minutes, with the shorter being like, that's kind of like the average. There has been times where we were on the Dreamscape map like 10 minutes, and one time we were 90 minutes. That really depends. We're going to talk more about that later. But it doesn't because it's not like a never-ending game, it doesn't feel like it's outstaying its welcome. Because there's so many different things happening, so much stuff going on. I don't feel that. And also, like, let's talk. Do you like it better at 2 or 3 players?
I think both player counts actually works pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very balanced because some of the cost of the actions has like some resources times the players
Yes.
that you're playing with. So in some cases that can feel very hard when you're 3 player and the cost triples instead of doubles. But in most cases I feel like they balance that pretty neatly. I feel like it's both fun with 3 and 2.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that it's not like some co-op games just adds more time with more players because you're just gonna discuss and talk. And here it's nice because it's not a game like you can end up, I think, like in all co-op games with a alpha player saying, what cards do you have, what do you want to do, you should go there, you should do this. But here it's more like you exploring, and of course you're saying like, oh no, don't do that, you should do this and this, and we talk about that. But you have your personal deck, you have your cards, and all that really works well. I think it works well at 3 players. I wouldn't like to play it with more than 3. I think then you're ending up in a category where it's more time and more people and harder to do things and more cooperation needed, which might be fun, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that because the core gameplay is very simple.
Yes.
You have some cards on your hand and those have some resource values, different resource values, and you also have some abilities as well. And you have to then choose if you want to use the ability or the resource. And you go to a place, spend the amount of resources, and something happens. Might be something interesting, might be something not interesting, might be something
horrible.
that is horrible, or something that drives the story onwards. And that makes you go like there is multiple tasks to do. You have some cards that fits this task. You go there. So I think like the story element and the world in this case is very important when you have that simple gameplay.
Let's talk about the thing that will make most people not like the game, and this is basically the difference between, I feel like this is the difference between liking this game and not liking this game, and that is the gameplay cycle, which is Dreamscape, or the slumber tiles, moving around, meeting the small entities, and then the big dreams. So the dreams, most people like them. They're fun. They're small adventures. Those kind of like the dungeon crawling part of any game. So let's talk about those a bit later. But let's now talk about the slumber deck, where you will move around this Dreamscape map. You will then meet different, or you will move from space to space and do the different effects. And most of them are negative effects, like drawing some fate cards, and then most of the time also you draw a slumber card. And some of those are positive, and most of them have an entity on them. In the beginning, that deck is very, very little, so you will go through it fast. And then later in the game, you will have more of them, and they will be like less and less. So this feels kind of like in, for example, Pokemon, where you move around and you hear the sound and a wild Zubat arrives for the 15,000th time. And this is how I know many people feel about this phase, is that you move around and you meet this entity again and again, and it's the same one. And I understand that. I understand and I might feel, if you play this 30 more times, I might feel that as well. But as it is now, I enjoy that. It doesn't feel repetitive for a couple of reasons. Just to be completely honest, I like the dreams more.
Yeah.
The dreams are more fun.
That's the main thing of the game for me. It's the dreams, yes.
I don't want to spend 90 minutes on average in the dreamscape. And sometimes when I play, I love it. Sometimes when I play, I'm like, okay, let's get to the dream.
Yeah.
But it's not to the point where I feel it's not a good element of the game, because it's a part where you meet different entities and those will change up. We're not going to talk about any
because there are some things here we can't spoil. But for us, it doesn't feel repetitive as it is now.
There's different things to explore basically in these entities. Some of them are just the same puzzle again, but then you try to do it as best as possible. And then there's different loot cards. So you're trying to get the loot card that you want. Maybe you turn over a turn card, not a round card, a turn card, and you see like, oh, we want this bonus, so we need to finish this now, so we get that loot. So there's this is kind of like a small puzzles that you can do in different ways and in more interesting ways later, and I really enjoy that. So what do you feel about those numbers?
I feel they are nice. I don't feel like they're repetitive, but I agree. I like the dreams more. I feel like all the entities are so different. You have to solve like your own kind of puzzle for that thing.
Solve your own kind of puzzle.
Yes, and also the slumbers and all the dream world map, you are also having some character progression, and I think that also is nice. I like evolving my character and also have some ability to save your game and do an awakening, and also the timing. Do we want to do that now? Then we're losing all the positive things, but you're really close to dying. We need to do this now. Should we take that chance? I think that is really interesting.
Yeah, so basically when you do an awakening, you do a soft reset
Yes.
of everything. Yep. So it's instead of dying, like when you try not to die, because dying is bad. But yeah, so the slumbers, I feel like, and it's even like if you hear about this game now and you feel like, oh, the slumbers are going to be horrible, they are working on a continuous dream mode. So if you only want to hear, or if you only want to enjoy the story, you can play that. And I feel like that is kind of like an easy mode on some video games. You can just, if you just want to enjoy the story, play this.
Easy mode, yeah.
But the dreams, let's talk a bit about them, because they are very fun.
Yeah.
And I am, you briefly talked about it earlier, like you're excited every time you start a new dream, like what is this dream going to be about? And I love those small stories of the dreams.
Yes, there's so many creative freedoms they've taken themselves because they are dreams. You can do whatever you want, and you can see the creative team really shining through with creating these interesting worlds and doing these things that you would normally don't see in a dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for seeing what awaits us in the new dream. And most of the time, or that is wrong, sometimes you don't know actually what to achieve in that dream. You don't know what you're achieving and how you do it.
Yes.
And just figuring out why you are here and what you're trying to do is part of the fun and the puzzle itself.
And it's also like, it might be also a negative, because sometimes it feels frustrating. Sometimes you do something and you're like, oh, you lost now.
Cool.
There's a couple of times that happen, and that is horrible.
Yeah.
Like you spend time getting into the dream, and then you're just, I'm going to look at this thing, and it says the dream ends, and you're like,
okay.
Why?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a spoiler that can happen, but you don't want to do that thing. So don't do that thing. It's bad. So that is one thing I just don't understand. Like, what does that add to the game at all?
It feels kind of random sometimes when you're spending resources to do one thing and you're not exactly sure what happens when you do that. But it's like that in Seven Continent as well. You can look under this bush and you can think you find berries, but it's actually a bear. Berries is very similar.
Berries.
It's almost killing you.
Yeah.
So you thought you were just getting a snack. It kind of is like that as well. You're trying to deduce, but you can't always figure it out. For me, that is part of the fun, though.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that's fun. It's a part of every kind of choose-your-own adventure style game. But I don't like the part where it's super punishing.
Yes,
and it just
agree.
boots you from the dream. Like, for example, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was one dream, I saw something and I was like, oh, might that be that thing? Because, like, it's very, might that be that thing from that thing that I saw in that thing?
The thingy?
And I checked, it's like, the dream ends. I was like, okay. So for exploring and trying to see if that might have had anything to do with that, it's like, hey, here, have a carrot. Oh, it's actually a stick. I'm going to hit you in the face. It's like that.
Your life ends. Cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's a carrot.
Yeah.
You can't eat carrots, you die. So yeah, it's kind of, sometimes I don't understand why those are in the game.
They could have made that a choice. I don't know if that would have made sense, but like you can choose to end the dream now.
Yeah, but why would you choose that?
I don't know.
But maybe
I don't know.
like, but
If you're close to
but
dying,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. If there was like a way to escape from the dream,
Yes.
but now it's just like random. And that is no fun. It doesn't add to the fun of the game.
It sounds like it happened very often.
No.
It doesn't.
But it's some of
doesn't.
those things that like sometimes randomly happen, which is not fun.
It's very much, even though it's a simple simple game. It's very rinse and repeat what you're doing on your turn. The world's also different. The entities that you meet are so different. You're eager to learn what the deal is with this dream and where the story takes us. This is really a very great storytelling game from my view. Yeah.
You think it's a great storytelling game?
Yeah.
You really do?
No, okay. I have to elaborate that so it doesn't go out wrong. Because the story, overarching story-wise, is... We haven't learned that much of the story yet.
Nope.
But being in this mind of someone is really entertaining and trying to figure it out and for me, that is a story, and as well, that is why I use the story word.
Yeah, because I feel like the independent stories or the dreams have been funny, and I talked about that earlier. It's fun, it's great, it's those are great. And then you have the overrushing thing, which is that like it's kind of like a bit here and there, and it's convoluted and it's kind of vague. I enjoy that, and it's more like it's a more of a world than it's a story right now.
It's more of an experience, maybe.
Yeah, because what we played of Tainted Grail had a more like story.
Oh yeah.
And I enjoyed the story there more, but the gameplay here is also very fun, and I enjoy the world and the setting, and I want to learn more.
Oh yeah.
So it's more like a dripping of a story. It's not a narrative. That's a good thing. It's not like a narrative. It's not like saying, oh, you're walking here and you're doing that, and then you meet this thing. It's more of a world that you are in, and you get some drippings of what might happen while you're there and all of that.
Very weird.
It's more of a mystery basically.
Yeah.
And that is great. And that's very fun. Also,
it's like you're dreaming. I think they've been but I think they've nailed it. I think like when you hear the story, sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't in dreams. And you're like, oh, wait, what just happened? Well, oh, okay, we're dreaming. And I think they've hit the nail on the head there with
absolutely.
The dreams. Yes.
So is there anything you want to add, or should we do some final thoughts?
I think we should do some finals. No, you can start.
I'm going to begin. Okay, so yeah, I will start. So there has been negative things said, but beside those, so it's hard to get into this game.
Yes.
And it was with Tainted Grail as well. I think it's worse here, but Awaken Realms has some very unique projects. And what have made their games harder to get into for many people has been the rulebook, has been some of the gameplay, and so I like their games. I have enjoyed Tainted Grail. I want to play. We have 16 billion hours of that to play, and I enjoy Etherfields, and I want to play that, and we have 16 billion hours of that to play. Will it happen? Probably not, but I like Etherfields. So let's go past the start. When you get into the game and you remember the rules and you just have to check a rule here and there, or maybe the errata, there's a great website where you can just go into the specific dream, and probably somebody have already asked, and you click that and you see that. That's not too bad. And people, they cannot know every single thing people will ask. That's why there's always FAQs and erratas, but there's too much here. There should have been better in that part. But the gameplay is fun. The theme is good. The world is fun. I really enjoy my time here. I'm always excited to get into the new dream, to see what's going on. It was in my top 10 of the year from 2020. Go and check that video if you haven't seen that already. I'm going to give it an 8. It's a very good game. I enjoy it. That is Etherfields. Go ahead, your turn.
Yeah, this is growing on me, as the reason you mentioned. I want to dock it some points for the horrible rulebook. And
it's a 4.
Yeah, no, not that many points. Because, as you said, the world here and the game in itself is great. And I'm actually surprised that I like it that much that I do. Because I feel like it just drags me into it like a video game. I get addicted to this game. It's up on a table now. We haven't tucked it away, and I just want to play it. And it was like a time before Christmas that the only thing that I wanted to do was play this game. So it's a great game. I'm going to dock it a little bit for all the mess around it. So for me, it's a 7.5, but still a very solid game, and I just really enjoy it.
That's awesome, and that is another review. We hope you enjoyed it. If you're still here, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Do you like the game? Are you getting it in the second wave shipping? Or do you just hate Awaken Realms and never want to play their games? Let us know in the comments. That is the end of another video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunniva.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.